Hi, my name is Kieran Garvey and this is my final year project called SecureGate. It's an IoT security project for granting controlled access to infrastructure using multi-factor authentication. SecureGate uses multi-factor authentication with a combination of security cards, PIN number and facial recognition to achieve secure identification. It also uses multi-level authorization with a fine-grained role-based access to devices on a user's role classification. The devices the user is allowed to access are displayed within the application for the user to select and power on. I'm now going to demonstrate the cleaner role. The cleaner only has access to the room and can't actually turn on any devices. So basically, it should detect my face and the door should open. The door opened and it comes up saying access granted. Then the door actually locks after 3 seconds when you close it. Next, I'm going to demonstrate role which actually has access to turn on devices. Any of these roles, the junior lab, the senior lab technician, the chemist, it all works the same, whereas they log in and basically it displays on the screen which devices they have access to. Basically, when I select number 8 for this user, I've actually only got 4 devices, but I've put them in twice just so I can have more of a list. So 8 should be this one here. So when I press the button here, the door should open and that device should come on. And it comes up and says we've got access, and that screen resets after 10 seconds, the same as the cleaner. And the door should lock when you close it. And just turn off the device. I logged in as a junior lab tech here just to show you that it only brought back 2 devices. I'm logged in as the chemist here just to show you all the devices actually get listed, and you can select which ones you want to start. This time I'm demonstrating how to log in as the admin. The flow is slightly different, whereas you don't actually get to select any devices and it just logs you directly into the admin interface. The first screen that loads up in the admin dashboard is the analytics screen, where you get a list of the number of users, the number of roles, the number of devices, the access attempts, the amount granted and the amount denied, and then a little bit more analytics about each. We have access logs, which is to do with the doors opening and closing, and we have some analytics about that where you can actually select each user and it tells you how many times they were attempts they made and the amount they got denied and granted, and it shows you the last 10 access attempts, and there's a little trend over time as well for all users, or you can filter by users. And I did the exact same thing but for devices below. In the devices screen you can actually assign devices to different roles, you can edit the devices, and you can delete the devices. Also, if a device is actually on, I'll just demonstrate it here. It tells you on this screen that the device is on, and it disables editing and deleting each device. The role screen is similar to the devices screen, but you can't edit or delete the admin. You can't assign them to any devices. The cleaner roles any cleaner roles can't be the assigned devices, or you can't edit or delete. Basically, there always has to be one cleaner and one admin role. Same here, you can go into here and you can add different devices to each role, and you can delete the other roles. While demonstrating the users, I'll show you a little bit more about the material React table component that I used. Basically, you can sort by any of the users. You can add in filters, and you can filter by letters. It uses fuzzy search. can turn them off again. You can show and hide different columns. You can toggle the density so it makes it bigger and smaller. And you can actually toggle full screen and zoom in and work with full screen. In the add user modal, you can enter in a new user. Now I didn't, it has to be an email, it has to be a password, but I should change it really, just this can only be numbers. I didn't actually do it when I developed it, but it could be future work. You select the roles, and then to scan the card you can type it in, or if you press scan card you can actually go over to your card reader and scan it in. And then the next screen we go working with the camera. In case you have more than one camera, you can drop down the list and change cameras. You can take a photo. It takes a photo, and that's where you can actually move the picture around. You can zoom in, move the picture around to get it in center or a better picture. You can press retake photo to retake the image if it wasn't good enough, and you can zoom in again, and then you press crop and get image, and it actually captures the image, and you press create user, and that creates the new user. You can see them on the screen there. You can edit the users, change the user details, or scan a new card, change their role, make them inactive, disabled, or active, and you can save the changes, and it comes up automatically. And then you can actually delete a user. Now it doesn't actually delete a user. I should change this really, but it actually just, for data integrity, it just sets them to inactive. That's because I have them linked to the logs, and you need to pull back the image to see who was logged in and what they did. In the admin area, you've also got the logs. So you have the access logs, which displays all the access attempts to the room. And you've got the device logs, which records the device has been turned on and off. And then you can actually log out. Failed facial recognition attempts. The user has 3 chances to pass a facial recognition, basically just in case someone actually steals a card and knows the PIN number. So basically, this account doesn't belong to me, and I'm going to got failed. It comes onto the failed recognition screen and says there's 1 failed attempt already. If I do it again, I should get a 2nd failed attempt. And then on a 3rd time, the account should get locked out. I should have really added in to lock them out if they get the PIN number incorrect, but I didn't get to do it. When the reset countdown reaches 0, it resets the application. With the user locked out, only the admin has access to reset the user. So I've logged in here now, and I'm going to show you how to reset a user. Basically, you can select all the locked out users or the people who failed attempts up here, and drop down list is currently only the 1. And basically it gives you a picture of the user, their status, their card ID, the failed attempts, and images of the last 3 attempts to log on. And as you can see, that's not me. And I can reset the user by pressing that button, and that screen gets refreshed, and there's no failed logons at the minute. For the backend, it's developed in Python with FastAPI to control the doors, voices, also to send different commands to Deepface and TinyTool. I developed a custom landing page for FastAPI. On my FastAPI docs, I custom developed the docs with my name, the API, and you put in a filter so you can actually type in what you want to return. I've got all the schemas. Let me demonstrate the door. So if I bring up the door, if I actually open the door, so press try, this will open the door. The door is open. If I go down and get the status of the door then, You can see that the mag lock is released, so the door is actually open. So I clear that, and I go up and I actually try this again, but I close the door. And I physically close the door, clear that, and I go down and I execute the get started again. It tells me that it's engaged. I've Portainer installed on Docker so I can actually have a visual interface to show all my containers, and I use it to kind of manage them. I originally had planned to add my Python backend API and my front end into Docker, but I actually had a few problems with both them communicating to each other and communicating to the devices installed on my Raspberry Pi. I know if I could had a bit more time, I probably could have figured out what wasn't installed on the containers. That would have let me get access to the devices and share the information between the two containers. But in the end, I used a virtual environment to install the backend API onto, and the front end is installed just onto the Raspberry Pi. Anyway, in Docker, I have Deepface server API, Tidy2U, and I have SupaBase installed. Now, I installed the whole of SupaBase. I was planning to use storage for the images and a few other things, the SupaBase auth, but in the end, I didn't actually use them. So I'm just using it for the real-time database. Here's the Tiny2U server with the list of the devices that I'm using on my project. I'm actually using 4 devices, but I'm in my SupaBase I haven't set up some of them in twice just to give me more devices to demo. And these ones over here are just devices that aren't online, and they're actually ones that I have in my house. The Deface server just comes up to tell you it's online, and my SupaBase project, I have all the different user roles and tables here. I've also got a custom function set up which actually gets the devices by user ID. This graphic demonstrates the schema and in SupaBase showing you all the connections between all my tables. On closing out my demonstration of my project, I'd like to say that I really enjoyed making this one. I think it was the actual having the physical element of the model, and with the door opening and the devices turning on and the interaction between everything. I do think I might work on it a bit more once I'm finished, add in a few more bits and pieces and change a few things. Thanks for watching anyway. Bye bye.